Good morning. Good morning. It is April 19th of 2024 and it's Friday. My God, this was a long week. I have had a brutal couple weeks, I will tell you. Not something I necessarily expected, but it has been intense. So I'm kind of looking forward to sitting back and spending some time sharing with you some of what I've learned and some of the things that have helped me through tough weeks, brutal times, in a little different context. You know, I have 10 different things to say, and I want to say them all at the same time. And in saying them all at the same time, they'll get confused. So I began to think about, well, how do I lay this out and what do I say? And it essentially paralyzed me because there was too many places to begin. So I couldn't plan it. So let me just begin. And let me start here talking about how do you lead teams through tough times. And we call it the art of the comeback. But let me go all the way back. When we begin a business, we have an idea. And we take that idea and we build a business model around it. And we have aspirations. And we believe that if we develop the best product in the world, if we have the best model, if what we offer is most convenient, is definitively the best customer service, on, that we're going to win. And we have a unique idea and we believe we know how to go after it. And what do? We plan. We lay out our plan for how to do it. And then we get the resources to do that plan. And we hire people around it to implement that plan. So all of that is excellent. But how many of those people that do that process stop and say, so what could go wrong? Where are the problems? Oftentimes they don't have that conversation, and I think it's for a couple of reasons. One is they don't want to paralyze themselves with consistently talking about what is wrong and why it can't be done, because they don't want to sway themselves from their belief in what can be right and can get done. The tendency also is that when you're building a business plan and a model and you're beginning to share it with those circles around you, you want to remain optimistic. And in doing that, you almost don't want to hear what's going to go wrong. You want to convince people at one after the other that it's going to go right. But nonetheless, for whatever the psychological dynamic is, the truth of the matter, the truth is that people do not plan well for what is going to be a tough time. Do you think anybody planned for the pandemic? Do you think anybody plans for the day they may go bankrupt? Do you think anybody plans for what do they do if their partner steals money from them? Do you think they plan for when the market falls out for this product, what's the next iteration of myself that I need to do? Obviously, people aren't planning that, but those are the real things that go on. What do I do when I get sued? While all these layers of risk are you're facing, you have to continue to move forward. So how do I do that? And do you say to yourself ahead of time, how do I do that? How do I run parallel paths? Look, we trust our instincts. Most of us that are entrepreneurs and even non-entrepreneurs, just business people, trust their experience and their instincts to lead them to do the next right thing. That being said, planning is helpful. But I'm going to tell you because for me, the key was how you manage parallel paths in dealing with trouble while facing the plans for your future. And I'll give you some personal experience here. So I had a business that I was running for someone, and the business fell down. The owner failed to pay many bills. It ran out of money. It had a great product and great customers and a handful of wonderful employees. But at the same time, the business itself failed miserably financially. The owner of the company who had hired me became paralyzed with this and stopped returning phone calls, stopped doing anything. We were not really aware while we were going to our day-to-day business that all of this was going on. And suddenly one day, we realized this. And I recall spending a weekend of demoralization where I knew this problem was we're facing. I knew that shortly we were going to have all of our software licenses shut off. And I knew that we didn't have money and we didn't have answers. So I didn't start by saying, what am I going to do about it? I started by being demoralized. And here's what I did. I said to myself, I'm going to give myself through Saturday to live in demoralization. And I'm just going to feel crappy. I'm not going to plan. I'm not going to think of what to do. I'm just going to feel it. And in feeling it, I began to realize there were some answers. And every time I thought about those answers, they demoralized me more because every one of them required something that I didn't have. And here was the reality. It wasn't my company. So Sunday came and I began to lay out how a single point, how do you save this company's and the company and the benefits of the company? How do you save the upside of this company? And I came up with a plan, and it was just a plan. It wasn't like a wow plan. It wasn't inspirational, and it certainly wasn't prophetic in any way of getting through tough times. But it was a plan. And I called the owner of the company, and I said, I have a plan. I'm willing to stay with you and implement this plan. But before I talk about the plan, here's what I want to do. I want to run your company. I'm not looking to own all of the shares, but I am looking to make decisions in this company all the way from A to Z without your involvement. So before I share this plan that I'm willing to give it a try and put it into place, I need your commitment that you will no longer come to the office, that you will no longer be involved in decisions within the operations of the company. And if you can do that, I'll continue to run the company. And I want something for it. So I want 15% of the company, 1-5, that's it. And I believe my plan can create an opportunity that the company may survive and you won't have any personal liability by the end of it. So that's the benefit that you get. The risk is it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, you're already in that position today. He started out by telling me I was leveraging him. And I said, I'm not. I don't feel that I am. And certainly you have the right to say no. Nonetheless, through that conversation, he said yes. And before I went further that day, that Sunday evening, I sent him a legal document that he had to sign that contained the agreement that we had just made. Because I wanted to make darn sure that I could hold him to what we were about to do. So here's what we did. We took all of the assets of the company on Monday and we sold them to a new entity. Everything. We transferred them, but we sold them. We sold them. We left this initial company with only its debt, just its debt. And look, I understand that there are risks to doing that. I understand that there are laws that may or may not allow that to inevitably happen. But I banked on the idea that if I could remove the benefits and assets of the company away from the debt and the trouble, that we could address the debt and the trouble in a more normalized way. We could come up with our own payment plans to pay off the debt. We could not walk away from anything with anybody that they would end up suing us or challenging us. We could make everybody whole. But all of that had to be in our time and in our way and in our method. While we were doing that, we had to get to work and develop new supplier relationships with a new company. And we had to make sure that the employees of the company, would get through the tough times together. And that required leadership. And so, what is leadership? How do you lead a team through this? Well, here was my method. My method was straight talk. And I've learned over the years that doing straight talk with adults is the right way to do things. Share the reality. Doesn't mean you have to take everybody's idea, and it doesn't mean that everybody's going to be happy. And it may mean that you may carve out some people that are not happy because it won't fit within the context of what you're trying to get accomplished, or it may be a distraction. But nonetheless, you share it straightforward and the entirety of it. You say, look, here's what I'm doing. I'm separating things out. You saw this morning, we let go of X amount of our peers. You're the ones here. I'm here because I believe together with this new plan, we can survive and we can be special. And if we do this right and are committed, we can build a great company. I know it's hard to imagine building a great company on the day you're losing some peers and it's a new entity per se, and we're going through all of these dynamics. So you have to decide if you want in or you don't want in. And that's just a decision you have to make. But if you want in, I can't promise you anything. If you want in, the only thing I can say is this is the plan. I cannot do it by myself. Can you do it? Now, why do I think we can be a great company? The way we love our customers, it's amazing. The handful of customers that we have can turn into handfuls. And they can turn into handfuls because we are special when we're out in front of that customer. Our tech is good, but it breaks. But people don't quit us. Why don't they quit us? Because of how we care. So I believe that a caring group of people of this level can win the world. And you just have to trust that we're going to do this that way. Your job is to make that piece happen day in and day out. My job is to make sure I keep these distractions away from us and remove the obstacles for you so that you can get things done within the context, removing obstacles within the context of our ability to afford it. In other words, we can all come up with things that we'd love to do. This is not a time to think about all of the things we'd love to do. This is a time to work within the context of our current resources in the way we have it, taking care of our customers, time in and time again, and time in and time again. And I'll come up with a strategy of how to share that information about how we care for our clients to more people so that they come and become customers. And I believe one will beget the next, will beget the next, and on and on. And I believe this is a building block thing, and it's going to be painfully exciting for the next 18, 24 months. And at that time, once we feel really set and stable, I think that, we're going to make it. So do you want to be here or not? And don't answer me now. I may have just inspired you, and I don't want to do that. I want you to go home, talk to your families, think about it. And if you come back knowing that you're in. So we did that. The result was we built a great company, a world leader, and we did it facing moments like that over and over and over. And I said to you at the beginning of this talk, we never plan for those times, do we? And it's very tough for me to plan for those times because it's very hard to know what those times are going to be. So, what I do is I talk to our staff, even in the good times, about what hard times can be like and why you are my peer and why you are working here and I am working here, because we are the kind of people that can manage through tough times and they will happen. But when they happen, we won't point our fingers. We won't get angry with each other. We will solve, solve, and solve. And the solution is that. Now, I'll end with this. After that company and the success of it, I went on to be what I would call a turnaround CEO, where I was asked to come into companies that were facing tough times and had hit their limits. And they asked me to come in to implement something different that would solve their problems and get them back on the track they wanted to be on. So I always did it the same way because my lesson learned was that by removing the person that was creating the problem, in this case, the founder of that company I talked about, by moving him aside, but not treating him poorly, making sure he got whole, but asking him out of the decision-making tree, that was the best way to do it, because you have to make decisions fluidly and you have to make them decisively. And to do that often requires one person making those tough decisions. So every time I walked into another company and was hired, I said the same thing. I am not good at collaboration. What we have to do is if you want me, you have to step aside for a period of time. Obviously, it's your company and you can always step back in. But the minute you begin to step in, I can't do my job the way you're hiring me to do it. So I can't turn this company around. And every time that has happened, we've had success. Every time, 100%. When it doesn't happen, it gets muddy. And what muddy means is it gets inconsistent for the employees and inconsistent for the customers. And when those two things happen, all bets are off. So I hope this story and some of my experience helps you in what you're thinking and doing in your life. Look, I'm always here if you want to chat it up, talk a little bit, and maybe I can give you some help too. You all take care. Great to talk to you. Can't wait till our next podcast.